G'day guys, just Rob here again, doing another DVD Blu-ray update. I think it's been probably a few weeks since I did my last one. I just got a bit sidetracked. I've been playing the Dead Island video game recently. I've sort of been a bit obsessed with that recently. Just sort of been playing it for the last few weeks flat out, and I think I'll be on the third way through. I've sort of finished it a few times and just make sure I do all the side quests and just doing a bit more explore of the world. So yeah, so I've just got a few Blu-rays to show you today, just a few that I've sort of bought and sort of watched recently. First one I got was Sherlock Holmes, which is a steelbook. Which I got. Found it pretty sort of cheap, so I thought I'd grab it. I did sort of see the trailer for this movie when it sort of first came out, and wasn't really all that impressed. I thought it'd be something I probably wouldn't really sort of like. I think mainly because it just looked a bit silly. I thought, sometimes you get a bit worried when they're sort of, because Sherlock Holmes is sort of pretty sort of famous, sort of character, for decades, I suppose, and sometimes you get a bit worried when they sort of try to make big blockbuster movies out of these sort of characters, and sometimes they sort of ruin the sort of story. It's got Robert Downey Jr., Jude Law, Rachel McAdams in it. But yeah, I've sort of found it cheap on eBay, so I thought it's still booked too, so I might just grab that and give it a watch. So I watched probably about probably 10 or 2 minutes of it, and I really didn't sort of like it that much. I don't know. I just sort of found that Sherlock Holmes he's just sort of cocky and a bit sort of stuck up himself, and a bit of a I don't know, selfish, and it's sort of it's I don't know, sort of supernatural too, I suppose. You sort of predict the future and what was going to happen next and stuff. I just sort of perhaps found a little bit sort of silly, and but I sort of did once I sort of actually sort of watched the whole movie and sort of looked back, and it actually wasn't too bad of a movie once it sort of finished and sort of run its course. The loose ends were all sort of tied up, and apart from I think I left it open for a sequel, which I think it came out. Well, I think I heard it's come out recently. I think I didn't know it was coming out or anything, but I think I found today that it actually has been released. I think the sequel. I could be wrong on that, but anyway. I think it probably just depends, I suppose, on what you sort of deem as what you deem Sherlock Holmes to be, I guess. Because I've read a lot of, I've been on the forums and read a bit about the movie, and some people reckon it's total. They didn't like it. It was totally not anything like the original stories. Anything wasn't the way Sherlock Holmes should be. Etc. etc. But then I've read other posts and other forums and said, oh no, this was pretty close to the way Sherlock Holmes is, and that's pretty much the way it should be, sort of thing. And so I suppose it depends on what your view perhaps of Sherlock Holmes is, and because it's obviously been different sort of different retellings of it, and different using different actors, and different writers have come along, and since the original the Doyle was the original author, wasn't he? And obviously we've had different sort of writers come along and sort of write their own versions and stuff. So I suppose it depends on what you sort of deem to be Sherlock Holmes. Once I sort of got past, say, the first half an hour of it, and actually got sort of a bit more into the storyline, and it wasn't too bad of a movie. I don't know. I'm not quite sure what I didn't really like about the first. I don't know, just a bit boring. It was very sort of slick, I suppose. It's probably not probably boring and slick don't really go together, I guess. But it just I don't know. Visually, it was really good, and good acting, and I don't know. Perhaps a bit too slick, a bit too I don't know, too. Things sort of happened, and it was just I don't know, too much going on the screen at the one time, or I don't know what it was, but just I don't know. I just found it a bit boring, or it just didn't really interest me. I don't know, something. Anyway, okay. So next one I got was the Adjustment Bureau with Matt Damon and Emily Blunt. Okay, a bit of a slip case. Now this is probably another one I sort of saw the trailer and I didn't thought it probably wouldn't really interest me that much. Because it just it looked sort of a bit silly, you know, sort of like a bit of a sort of Inception or a bit of a Matrix rip-off, and just, you know, sort of the premise sort of sounded a bit sort of silly, I suppose, to me. Essentially, it's about see if I can explain it. Essentially, about sort of like a group of sort of like secret order, I suppose, that sort of they sort of control everything. Like they control other people's lives. It's kind of like the Matrix, I suppose. They sort of control, you know, what happens in the world and it controls people's lives, and like, you know, these are sort of the people that sort of on the ground. There's sort of people behind the scenes that sort of they're sort of like, I don't know, like a book or something, and that sort of says in the book what, you know, what's sort of supposed to happen to this person and what, you know, what their storyline's supposed to be, I suppose. Sort of thing. So the people on the ground, they sort of get the books and sort of read what's going to happen, and they've got to sort of make sure that actually is going to happen, you know, to the characters in the, you know, in the movie, in their sort of everyday life. Essentially, Matt Damon, he's like a senator. He's sort of running for election. I think he's sort of about to lose the election. So he's sort of in the men's room, sort of pacing and sort of thinking out loud, sort of saying what he's going to say in his speech there. But it doesn't sort of know. But in one of the stalls, there's like a girl in there, the Emily Blunt, and she sort of crashed one of the parties, perhaps in a different sort of section of the hotel or wherever they are. And she's sort of hiding out from the security. So she's sort of hiding in there from them, you know, sort of waiting until she can sort of escape, and you know. So they sort of meet each other in there and have a bit of a conversation and sort of, you know, I guess sort of attracted to each other, and you know, so they, you know. Okay, so that was supposed to happen according to the book. They were supposed to have this one sort of meeting, you know, with each other. That was supposed to be the only time they ever meet, though. But apparently the guy that's sort of looking after Matt Damon, he's sort of a bit overworked, and he sort of falls asleep, not sort of watching what Matt Damon's doing. So the two do meet again, and which isn't supposed to happen. So that basically Matt Damon, he sort of spends the rest of the movie. He sort of finds out what's happening. There's about this group of people that are sort of controlling everything, and he just wants to sort of meet the girl again, and so he sort of spends the rest of the movie sort of, you know, trying to avoid this sort of secret order, and trying to meet up with the girl and obviously the team that they're trying to get in, and trying to, you know, because that's not written that way. So they've got to, you know, stick to what it says in the book. So they've got to, you know, try to break them up, you know, try to divert them and try to bring them apart so they don't sort of meet each other again. You know, because I suppose that, you know, like a ripple effect, I guess, if they sort of meet each other, and you know, it might change something else, and then something else will change. You know, so they've got to try to stick to the book. But it was actually quite a good movie, though. I was actually quite surprised. I mean, if you sort of, it's one of those movies where you sort of got to, you know, sort of, obviously you think, you know, you understand maybe the storyline, you know, the whole premise might be a little bit silly. If you sort of, you know, get engrossed in it, you've got to sort of forget about the plot holes and, you know, how this probably wouldn't happen, sort of thing. But if you sort of, you know, sort of believe that, you sort of, you know, sort of go for the movie and, you know, sort of go along for the ride, I guess. Which I think it does pretty well, the movie. But I think some sections off sort of got a little silly. But yeah, if you like, say like The Matrix or Inception, this would probably be a good movie to watch there. Okay, so the next one I got was one called The Road, which came out a few years ago. It's got Viggo. Now, I'm probably going to try and pronounce this right. Viggo Mortensen. I think he's, you know, he's in Lord of the Rings. Guy Pearce, Robert Duvall, and Charlie Theron. I think that's how you say it. I didn't sort of know all that much about this one. I just knew it was a bit sort of bleak, sort of like a what do you call it, like a post-apocalyptic sort of America sort of thing. So it's type movie, so kind of like a survival type movie, I guess. So essentially, what this one's about, we don't know that what actually happened, I suppose, to sort of get for the world to sort of get into this state. We don't really know, there might have been a war or some sort of a nuclear fallout, or what sort of caused it. We don't even know what the the characters' names are. There's no sort of names given it. But I guess that doesn't really matter. What they're called, I suppose. It's just just sort of characters that you're sort of following. But it's about a sort of a father and his son. It's sort of kind of sole survivors, I guess, and they're just walking down a road, I suppose. Walking along the countryside, basically just trying to survive. Because they're sort of starving to death because there's no sort of food, and there's no sort of plants or no sort of vegetation, I guess, to live off. So they're just sort of scrounging for what they can, and eventually sort of starving to death, I guess. So basically they're just it's sort of just about them, what they're trying to avoid. Some people out there sort of like cannibals out there, trying to eat them. So they're sort of trying to avoid that and just trying to survive, I guess. Just sort of meet people along the way, and etc. etc. So basically, the father, he's very sort of protective of his son. He's just trying to look out for him and survive. So he's sort of he tries to sort of stay away from the people that they meet, and it's very protective. And where the son's probably a bit more the opposite, I suppose. He's he wants to sort of he's a bit as a kid. He sort of he wants to have friends. So he sees like a boy. He sort of runs after the boy. He wants to sort of make friends, and his father sort of eventually sort of grabs him and says, "No, you can't do that. We need to sort of stick together," and like he's very protective of his son. It actually wasn't. Probably some people might say it's a bit dull, I suppose, because nothing all that much happens, I guess. Essentially what happens there, I think the end was a bit sort of strange. It was. Eventually, what happens in the end, a bit of a spoiler alert, I suppose, for you. But basically, the son, the father, he he ends up basically sort of starving to death. So he basically just doesn't sort of wake up, sort of one morning, and so the son's he's sort of got to look after himself, and so the father dies, and then 5 minutes later, the son he sort of meets up with this family that say, we can do you want to come with us? We can we can sort of look after you, sort of thing, and which is a bit. So but like the family say, we've sort of been watching your father for watching you and your father for the last 2 or 3 weeks, and we're just having sort of a approach to get, sort of thing, and I thought, I don't know, I don't quite understand why they were sort of held back. Why didn't they sort of just talk to the father and try and work out, at least ask him perhaps, what do you want to join us? Do you want to sort of stick together? Anything we can sort of do or something. But I don't know. Maybe they sort of saw the father and son, and they could sort of see the father perhaps was a bit protective of his son and didn't really like talking to other people, and so maybe they sort of got onto that perhaps, and they didn't really want to interfere or something. But I don't know. Just I think if I was in that situation, I think I'd probably still ask the father, do you want to be able to help, or if we're supposed to sort of stick together as a group, we might survive. I don't know. It just sort of sounded. I don't know. Perhaps it's just a way to end the movie, I suppose. Maybe just do it that way, but it just. I don't know. It just didn't sort of make a whole lot of sense, perhaps, that way to me. It was actually. I thought it was pretty good. Probably something I probably wouldn't watch all the time, but definitely something to watch perhaps occasionally. It is a bit sort of dull, I suppose. Some people might not like it, I guess. The next one I got was one called Phonebooth, which has got Colin Farrell. He's sort of the main character. Forrest Whitaker, he's sort of the policeman character in it, and then Keith Sutherland. I think he's only in for about 4 or 5 minutes. Not in it for very long at all. Essentially, it's about a phone booth. Colin Farrell character, he's got a job as a publicist, and he's sort of a bit sort of selfish and a bit sort of stuck up, sort of only looking after number one, I suppose. So actually, what happens? He sort of every day he goes to a phone booth, and he's married, but he's sort of trying to chase after this other girl, the Katie Holmes character. So she sort of, so every day he sort of rings her up from the payphone and sort of asks her out, sort of thing. And like today she said, oh no, so she says, oh, I'm busy today. So he ends up sort of hanging up the phone, and then like a few minutes later the phone rings again. So so as you do, you sort of answer it and says, hello, who's this? And it's some sort of strange guy on the phone, sort of, that seems to know a fair bit about Colin Farrell, and he wants to, the guy on the phone wants to know, why he's shitting on his wife, and you should ring up your wife now and sort of confess, what you're doing, and basically, Colin Farrell says, "I know, get fucked," sort of thing. And says, I'm going to hang up the phone, sort of thing, and the guy on the phone says, "No, well, you can't do that because I'm actually sort of sitting up, up a few floors above with a sniper gun sort of pointed at you. You can't sort of hang up the phone, unless you want to die, sort of thing. So Colin Farrell is sort of trapped in the phone, sort of talking to this sort of strange guy that seems to know a fair bit about him. That's sort of been, been watching him, sort of thing. Eventually, what happens is that, obviously he's in the phone booth for a long time, and eventually, people sort of come up to the phone, because they sort of want to use it, and start, sort of bashing on the glass, and want to come in, and eventually, what happens is that, this guy comes up to the phone, and starts, harass Colin Farrell, and he ends up getting shot. The guy gets shot by the mysterious guy. From his sniper, he ends up sort of, falling dead on the ground, and everyone on the ground thinks, oh, it must have been Colin Farrell that sort of shot him. So they sort of, start to get a bit of a crowd around, and they call the police, and the police turn up, and then like a film crew, a news film crew, they turn up to capture the story, I suppose. And eventually, the police eventually sort of work out that it's not Colin Farrell that's doing it. It's more the guy on the phone. So they have to try and so they end up trying to sort of bug the phone so they can find out what's actually happening. What the story is with Colin Farrell, and why when he come out of the phone booth, sort of thing. But it was actually quite a good movie though. I thought it was actually sort of on the edge of your seat, sort of stuff. Like. Because you sort of want to know what's going to happen next. Is someone going to get shot? What's this mysterious guy's? What's his ideas? What's his motives behind it? I sort of found the end was a bit, bit sort of cliched. You could sort of see what was going to happen, how it was sort of going to turn out, sort of thing. It reminded me a lot, perhaps, of the Saw movies, which I really don't like. The Saw movies. I have a lot of issues with those sort of movies. I think they're sort of pretty disgusting and a bit sort of twisted, but I think that's probably another rant, perhaps for another day than once. But it did sort of remind me of that though. Plus, Saw movies, I suppose, they're more sort of physical sort of torture, whereas I suppose this is a bit more sort of mental torture, I suppose. But I did sort of find this one a bit more. I sort of enjoyed this one a bit more. I suppose perhaps, I don't know. I'm being a bit of a hypocrite, I suppose, because I suppose like. Physical torture and mental torture, I suppose, is very sort of similar. I guess it's still, I suppose some people might say that mental torture is probably a bit more, bit more harmful perhaps than physical torture. But I actually sort of found this movie real, sort of funny. It was sadistic, I suppose, what the guy was sort of making him do. Okay, guys, so that's just a few, sort of movies that I've sort of. Bought and watched recently. Hope you enjoyed that. Feel free to make a few comments down below. It'd be good to get perhaps a bit more feedback on some of the videos that I make. I sort of make them and put them up, and then a few people watch them, but that never sort of making comments on what I said or anything. So it'd be good, just at least say the movie was. Your video was good, or just that was crap, or make a comment about one of the movies that I've perhaps talked about, or or perhaps even recommend a movie perhaps that's similar to what I've watched, or something you might recommend would be good. So that's it. So till next time, I'll see you later on. Bye.